Now this morning what I wanted to try to do, this is for Luciano. This is part of his R6. He wants to make a new seat cover for this. And it's in reasonably good shape. The problem is going to be, and I don't know because I haven't done an R6 yet. I've done plenty of R1s. And this is a much more defined point. I don't know if the material he has is going to stretch around here, or if the last thing I have to do is put a seam in. I don't know if I'm going to have to do that. What I'm going to do first is try to do the one piece and do it all by stretching it. And that would always be the first choice. A lot of times there's some shapes, some sizes, it's just not going to work out the way you want. In that case, we have to either get thinner material, and I don't know if the material Luciano got is pretty heavy duty. I don't know if it's going to bend enough, and then try to do it with heat. And actually this is part 2. We've done the back piece, part 1. So let me have the rest of my coffee here and let's get started. And no matter what we're recovering, there's certain basic tools we need. We need something to pull staples out. Ordinary pliers. We need a typical Arrow heavy duty stapler. And we need, this is the most important thing if you're going to do a seat. I got these in several sizes, but they make 2 types of staples, and one will say heavy duty. The other one actually says heavy duty, but it isn't. So if you're in doubt, get the blue box, heavy duty. These are so much better. You need an old pair of scissors, doesn't even have to be that sharp. Now, the material comes, and I'm just rehashing this from when we did the first piece of this project. Material comes, vinyl comes stretch and no stretch vinyl. Obviously what we want is stretch vinyl. Luciano bought a yard. A yard is about $10 to $12 locally here. And what I'm going to try to do is get the most value out of this that I possibly can. But I do have to leave just enough extra for my own purposes here. Again, at this point, nothing is critical. Right in the beginning, we just need a piece of material. Now, I'm very curious to know, since this is relatively heavy material, it's got a nice thick backing, in fact. Probably good for a lot of things, but I'm not sure it's going to stretch around that corner. See, it does have some stretch. And you notice vinyl will stretch. If you look at the material going this way and this way, the backing, it'll stretch corner to corner a lot more than in the dimension of the threads. So the first thing to do, we want to get this on here in such a way. I'm going to put this away just in case we need it. And when you do this kind of job, the material's cheap enough that you can pretty much buy, even if you're a big spender like Luciano is, just buy 2 yards. You'll have it left over for the next seat you do. And since restoring all these old motorcycles, the seat is always in rough shape. The first step on this is just to see if it's our lucky day or not. And just get some idea. And again, you could do this 1,000 times, and every time it's a different adventure than the time before. The idea would be to get it with the threads. I'm trying to get the threads going corner to corner if possible. I'm not sure that's going to be possible. And I'm not sure we're going to be able to get around this. See, this is a very strange, the way this seat, the shape is actually, I'm not sure we're even going to be able to do it the way he wants to do it, because the material doesn't go around this as much as I'd like. But anyway, I just want to tack it in, get some idea of how this is going to work out. We're not going to know until we start putting a stretch on it. So having said that, now it's a question of, is this going to be, we're going to be able to bend this around here? Boy, that's going to be difficult. That's going to really be heavy duty. It's going to be difficult to do that. So right now I'm just going to do like a little test just to see if how much that would bend. See, what's going to happen when we actually go to bend that, it's going to get really difficult up in the corner there. Now, whenever I've done this, every one is a different adventure. Because of the shape of this really, I have some concern that we're going to be able to get that folded in nice. But again, the next step would be to just get everything tacked in place with almost no stretch on it. Just enough stretch that Well, this is definitely going to be a challenge. But just to get the pieces roughed in. Around here, the way the shape of this piece, I'm not sure this is going to be as doable as I think it is. Normally the nylon of this piece would go right around and it wouldn't be a real issue. But, well, again, we're going to find out. I don't know how we're going to be able to tuck that in. We're certainly going to give it a try. That shape is nice. Now we can start pulling this up in this dimension. I want to just take some of this material out. I don't want so much material on here that it just makes for a giant fold. I don't need that much material, but what I do need, I just need to know if I can get this to bend. Again, everyone is an adventure. And at this point, we're just tacking things in just to see if it's our lucky day. See, this material now, what I can do just to make it easier on myself, I know I'm not going to need this material. I could trim this off. The sooner I can get rid of some of this extra material, just makes the folding process that much easier. That's going to go in there. This piece I can get rid of right now. Now, as I look at this, see, this is really going to be challenging. But we don't go to the moon because it's easy. We go because it's impossible. And if you love old motorcycles, you got to love that you're definitely not going to... Most of this stuff is not practical to just buy new parts. You've got to kind of do what I'm doing and figure out how to make parts and substitute parts and whatever. And a seat is not a real difficult thing. It is definitely time consuming. Now I want to see if we're going to be able to get that bend around there. That might or might not be possible. And at this point, well, maybe we're just going to have to fight this a little bit. A lot of times you can just get the stuff kind of tacked in place. That isn't going to stay in there. You know what? I may have to get longer staples. The staples aren't long enough to stick in there. So as you know, I have 3/8. But of course, as he drifts off into oblivion, let's see. We've got 1/4 inch, we've got 1/2 inch. Let's try some 1/2 inch staples. We'll change these off camera. I'll try the longer staples, because we are having an issue with, there's so much stretch in the front there that doesn't want to hold. So I'm going to have to change the staples to longer staples. Now I really struggled with this because this is not as easy to do as a lot of different seat styles are. And again, there's 2 different methods for doing this. You can basically heat and stretch this until it forms the shape. A lot of times the material distorts, rips, whatever. Or you can do what I call, and I don't know if it's the right word, a folding method. Put one side right on top of the other. I'm not sure this is going to be the way of choice for this material, but now you can see what I've done here is just folded, 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 folded. And I've got, well, now I can get some of that out with the heat. But I've gone from having this dust, and I want to do one in real time if I can, because I hate when they have these how-to videos that from time to time the one step you want to see is how did he do that, and they gloss over it. So we'll try our best to do it this way anyway. We get rid of the extra material. Not sure you can see this as accurately as I'd like. Get rid of one of the extra staples before it goes in my finger. This is a point at which it would be nice to have a helper, but like everything I do, I've geared my whole life around the fact that I don't have a helper. Now, we've got, I want to try to show this. The fold method would be, and we may have to take these staples out and redo it, just put a little bit of tension on it, fold this back. Again, we're going to see if it's our lucky day. We may even need some longer staples when we get to the end. I'm just folding it one on top of the other. Just to see. So I don't know from the outside, it's still a little bit not like I would like it, but this part now is really baggy. Now we're going to have to start stretching it. This is where it gets, well, a little tricky, not real tricky, but we have to start, we'll start on one side or the other, it doesn't matter, they're both going to get stretched. Pull out some of the staples, maybe a third of them at a time. And we're not using any heat yet. The heat is the last option. I'm going to pull this as tight as I can by hand. Pull it as tight as I can by hand. I still think it's very funny. Art Conklin's video, I rebuilt a chair for him, an antique chair. And it's got the most hits of any of my videos. I don't know what that means. Wish I knew. Okay, so now you can see we've obviously got a wrinkle here. We're going to have to loosen it and start pulling it back. So one piece at a time, this is going to have to come out. And we'll just work our way around this. Try to pull this wrinkle out as much as we can. Now, little by little, we've got to loosen it. Each time loosening it and pulling it back now. As we start to work on these wrinkles, I took some heat. Took an ordinary heat gun. I just want to warm the material. Now in the summer, when it's really hot, you can do this right outside on a work table and the material stays hot. Here it's not that warm outside today. But having the material warm, it just allows us to stretch it a little bit easier, and we need to pull it in this dimension. Let's see here, that's some of it. See, as we're pulling it, we're getting the dimensions that we want. Still, it's kind of got me concerned about this corner here because there's no nylon material there. I don't know how they probably had a formed seat cover. Now see, once you have the heat and it starts to shrink, now we can start heating it and pulling it in every dimension that there's a wrinkle. And that's just, you can see right here what has to happen. Anywhere there's a wrinkle, we've got to, where the wrinkle goes this way, we've got to pull it this way. When the wrinkle, we got one wrinkle here, we've got to pull it in that dimension. And we've got to do it with a little bit of heat now. We're going to start working this. I'm going to pull the staples out in the front and one side at a time, pull it over in that dimension. And the more heat I put on it, the more flexible the material will get to be, up to a point. The point is when you melt the material or it rips. Now, and each time we stretch it, I try to take a little more material off because this is getting smaller and smaller. And the less of this material, we need enough that we can grab it, but not so much that it makes a terrible wrinkle. So, as an example, this is not doing me a favor right now. Every time I stretch this, I'm going to move it in, move it in, move it in. But little by little, we're getting a pretty good shape on that front. Now, brand new razor. As I've heated and pulled this, you can see how much I had the staples back here. Now they're up here. Now I can trim off using a razor because you really can't get a scissor in there. Trim some of this off. This is definitely not the easiest seat we've ever done, but we always accept the challenge. And the front of that now is starting to starting to have the shape that we want. I'm kind of saving the back for the end because I'm not so sure how that's going to work out. So this side is kind of permanently in. I've got staples in it. I want to pull this side one more time. And what I can do is just, it's as easy as pie to do this. I may as well show once on how we do this. Again, parts for older bikes, not necessarily this one, but older bikes, you just can't go to the store and buy these. So what you do is you take and heat the material, get it so you can just about touch it. And again, we're gonna, ooh, that is hot. Try to get the last of the wrinkles out of this. And then we'll try to trim some of this extra material off. Not sure we'll be able to. I just want to see that. Now, if nothing else, one of the tricks I've learned you can do at some point in time, if this were summer, you can go put this out on the dashboard of your car and go have lunch. The heat from the sun, because it's black, it's a solar panel, will get this just roughly conformed in shape. Then you can take it back out and do a re-stretch, get another 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch on every corner, and at the end, you'll have something with almost no wrinkles. Hopefully. Now, the last thing is going to be that corner. That's going to be tricky at best. Now, I have fooled around with this for quite a while. And because this corner doesn't hold its edge, that corner is soft, there's nothing under there, unique to this shape of the seat, it's just a piece of foam. You can't staple into the foam, you really can't staple into that either. You can't get a stapler in there. So I have to come up with an alternative way of doing this. So what I'm going to try to do is get a piece of thin plywood, maybe some 1/8 inch plywood, and make like a little horseshoe that fits in there, just so I can staple this to it. I don't know if that's going to be the answer until I do one side. I'll make a little piece up. I have plenty of material. But the problem is going to be is we don't have an edge to work off. See, all of this has an edge. Back here, we have nothing. It's like trying to staple into a sponge or a marshmallow. And from other projects, we do have plenty of pieces of plywood, but I don't know what's the right size. If I could find a piece of 1/8 inch here. Pieces of card. I don't want carbon fiber because what's going to happen, the staples are not going to stick the way they should. So let me just see if I can find, well, anyway, we will find it. If I have to dump this out, and I hate to do that, but it looks like I may have to. There we go. That piece should be big enough. We're going to find out in 1 minute. I'm trying to see. I'm going to make one bigger, but this is the problem. If this piece of nylon came back here, we're just going to have to make a bigger piece here and get the curve in it exactly right. I wanted to see the concept here. But that'll be what I want to do, is somehow get that in there and then staple it. The staples will hold to that. Maybe I can staple that to this piece of wood. Again, this is going to take a little experimenting. It's pretty funny. I had to make a pattern. I had to make about 6 of these pieces. Make a pattern. It's not interchangeable, but I'm going to try like heck to get that in there to maintain that curve. This will allow me to staple this piece into, so you can't glue it to this. There's not really no glue that sticks to that real well. And if that works, well, so before I make another one, I'm going to go trace this on another piece of wood. We have just enough. Now, just to see if my concept worked before I stretch it and heat it, it looks like that's going to maintain the shape. Well, we're going to know when we actually stretch it. See, all these little wrinkles will come out with heat and stretch. But I think that little piece is going to work. I've got the extra piece here. Now the other side, had I done it this way, there's no way that's going to work. Now I can tell right now, Luciano is probably sitting right at his little computer and going, "Hey, Windy, that's pretty good. You know your stuff." So Luciano, all I have to tell you is I'm doubling the price. Be prepared to pay. And normally a typical motorcycle seat takes me about 2 to 3 hours to finish. This one is going on 5 hours here, the way we're going. But I am going to struggle along with this, and I will. When I'm done, I hope I can get them all out. In fact, now it's just exactly what happens with all the restorations I've ever worked on. Something you thought was a nightmare. I dreaded doing the seat because I was afraid this was never going to come out the way I wanted. That came out fine. And a piece that I had no idea how it would be, I think the little piece of plywood came to the rescue. And we're going to find out because it's time to heat gun it out. And as we always say, now it's time. I'm going to do it. First I want to do one side and make sure I can get it as good as I'm going to be happy with it. So the first step here, is to get the wire out. Get the material soft. You never can have this material too soft. And boy, if it were a sunny day, just like mounting a tire, getting the material soft is a big part of the job, no matter how you do it. I've often thought of another way. If I was going to do a lot of these, I'd get heat lamps like they have in McDonald's to keep the French fries warm. Now, just want to do one of these in real time, see if I can, whenever I see the wrinkle, what I know I have to do, it's pretty simple. I've got to spread that wrinkle out. Now let's just see if I can get. And you really have to do this over and over and over until you're happy with it. That's the whole secret to the secret to life is just doing it over and over again and not taking no for an answer. Okay, let's get these two out. And let's see if we can get that to go up in there. We can just spread that wrinkle out. Just constantly spreading it. Now that I've got that one, and I'll do that over again. Now, the other thing, I'll put the piece of wood in this side, because as I'm letting this piece sit, see what's happening? The material is starting to conform, even without heat. But every time I heat this and let it cool, it just keeps conforming more and more. Now, one of the last things, and I realize what's going to happen is you've got to be able to pull this up enough to put the bolt in there, and instead of an Allen wrench, you may have to get a bolt. You've got to have a little bit of flexure in this. That's why I made this out of thin material. Well, we still can get the bolt in and out of there, so I think that's going to be fine. Now, I'm going to try one more shrink on this. I want to trim the extra material away. Again, I'm spending so much time on this, and it's a labor. Well, pretty much everything we do here in the shop is a labor of love. But anyway, getting rid of all that extra material. Now, you can see we've got 90% of it out. And the thing, again, that I thought was going to be so difficult, this is a little wrinkle. I'm going to try to stretch that back, heat gun it out, and if the sun comes out tomorrow, put it on the dashboard of the car. And that should be, I think that's about as good as it's ever going to get, considering what we have to work with here. Now, believe me, this was anything but an easy seat to do. This was a bear. We got the ability to pull this corner up to get the bolts in. I got that. That was an important thing. We couldn't make that too solid. I think we got all the wrinkles out. I put an extra row of staples all along everything, so because I know Luciano's rough on equipment. Now the last thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to do, and then put this, if it's tomorrow, I'll put it out on the dashboard of the car. The last thing is just now that we've got the stretch that we want, just gently heat it, let it cool. If it were a real sunny day, and it isn't, putting it out in the sun will do the same thing. Or actually, the first time you put it on a bike, it'll do the same thing. You park it in the sun. But This will just allow, once that, you just want it that you can still touch it. All around the edge. And that, actually there isn't a wrinkle in here anymore. It really came out nice. Now we're supposed to do a seat for Rip pretty soon. I guess he's got to get the material yet for his Kawasaki. And the Kawasaki seats are very difficult to do up in the front, but we'll definitely do it. And boy, Luciano, I hope you like that. Boy, I think that's about as good as it gets, baby. Now, and the last thing I want to do is just thank everybody for watching. And hope this little video is giving you some ideas of how you could restore an older seat from an older bike, or put a custom cover over the existing one. And again, thanks for watching. We got to go, this is difficult, we got to go pick up our grandson. He's getting ready to go to karate today for the first time. Okay, I am the Jedi. Oh! I'm taking one for the team. Oh! Oh! I'm taking one for the team. Oh! The baby's too violent today. Oh! Oh! Do your roly-poly maneuver. Oh! Take one for the team. Oh! 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 This is difficult.
Very big.
Miles, let me see you in your karate outfit. Miles,
Oh, this goes like this.
I want to see you in your karate outfit.
Oh, like inside here, like that? Okay, we'll show you. You know what? As soon as I get him in this thing.
Well, that's wait.
Mine probably something.
That's how it goes, right?
It was a lightsaber that flew through the air.
It did
like
where?
a skywriter. It
Where was it?
It went like this.
That's
Watch.
better, Mom, like that. You're right. It's like one of those,
Watch this.
hospital.
It went like this.
Watch this.
What? Show me, show me. Where?
Miles, I want to see what you look like in your karate outfit.
1 second.
Okay, hold on, guys.
He's playing hard to get
I
tonight.
don't know
Okay.
exactly how to do this the right way yet.
Maybe you should make a straight jacket outfit.
Maybe it goes like this.
Oh, it makes sense.
Wow, that karate must be a lot of
Does
fun.
that look right, Mom?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, there's the first karate move of the century.
Oh dear.
Takes mommy
Oh
out.
dear.
Mommy's gonna have to take karate too. I want to take a class
I
too.
think we're all going to have to take karate
Okay,
after
okay,
this.
Miles, you're gonna be late.
Miles,
Come on, you're going to be late.
I got it. Miles, no, Miles. I've got to put this on you, sweetie. I don't know if it